for certain. This has been an odyssey I won't forget.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Podyssey, an Assassin's Creed podcast with me, the XL, and my friend Willis Makes Movies. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm very good. We're doing the same intro every time, so I feel like I'm gonna end up saying the same thing every time we come in. But I'm doing good. Yeah. I've had some wonderful news. I'd like to start this episode with some wonderful news that I've had, which I think. Oh wow!
Okay.
I think
Enlighten
Ubisoft. This has got very little relation, but I think Ubisoft has watched the first episode of the Podyssey because I complained in that episode that I did not get my refund for Shadows, and guess what happened yesterday? Finally,
I can guess.
Finally, it was a very good weekend. I got refunded my £115, so it only took them 2 months, but they have refunded me.
So did they do that, did you say over the weekend?
Yeah, literally on Saturday. I got a suspicious endorsement from Ubisoft France.
Oh, wow. France?
So, yeah, it said France. I was really confused.
Do you think that's just because that's like their Europe division when it comes to like sales and stuff?
Yeah, or maybe they were like, look, we can't be bothered to deal with this. Let's give it to like one of our subsidiary companies.
We'll chuck it over to them. We don't like those guys. That's
I feel bad if like Ubisoft France is like 100% customer support. Like imagine getting hired by Ubisoft and you're sent to their customer support branch.
Oh. Yeah, we'll send them over to France.
Oh, there's nothing worse. Nothing worse.
Well, it's good to hear that you finally got your refund because that is actually a decent amount of money, isn't it?
It's a big chunk. Yeah, I was a little bit. Yeah. I mean, I was a little bit worried. I won't lie. Ubisoft, not the most trustworthy. They could have happily just taken it and waffled about not giving me a refund. But yeah, here we are.
Well, you got it back. So yes, it was late, but nonetheless, better late than never, they say, don't they?
Absolutely. And I'm probably going to spend that money all over again once Shadows gets relisted.
Yeah, chuck it in a little savings account for Shadows. Now we'll laugh at you and think, what an idiot. No offense. Not me, I don't think that. But you.
No, well, they'll be like, oh my god, we got this guy a pre-order twice. How funny is that?
Yeah.
Delete.
Yeah, you go and immediately pre-order it again.
So what's today's main topic?
The main topic is going to be our top 5 moments in Assassin's Creed. In the series as a whole, it could be a mainline title. I guess it could be a spin-off, I think. I don't really think we talked about that, did we? We just said, let's go for a top 5 moments.
Yeah.
So I've got my top 5 moments, and you've got yours. I guess before we get into that main topic, we should probably hold on to those and have it be a little surprise like we did last time.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Let's keep the surprise intact. Very funny last week that we both had the same spin-off game as like the most obscure.
That was funny, wasn't it? Well, I heard about that one like some point last year, and I was just like flabbergasted. I was like, what the hell? How have I not heard of this before? So in my head, every time I think of like a crazy spin-off game, that's always the one that comes to mind.
See, I just looked on the wiki. How did you find out about it? I just looked on the wiki and I saw the name and I was like, hang on a minute, that's not Altair's Chronicles. And then I clicked on it and I was like, what on earth? Like,
I know, it's crazy.
There's more to Arno's story.
Yeah. I was thinking of making like a full-on video about that at some point, but I'd have to play it, so I'm going to see if I can get it downloaded.
Oh, you should. You should do a live stream playing it.
Yeah, I could do it for a live stream, and then I could keep that footage and then I'd do a little retrospective kind of video about it or something. I don't know.
Yeah. See if
bit like
there's
the
enough
AC
there.
Discovery. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't... When I made the AC2 Discovery video, I thought, like... I was struggling for a while how to script it, because I'm like, what is here? Like, what can I actually talk about? So that's why I decided to go for the whole approach of, let's just talk through the entire story of the game and then talk about gameplay elements throughout. Because I didn't know how else to do it.
Did you script that video as you went through? Or did you wait until the end?
I fully... So I started playing a bit of it, and then I thought, okay, let's start scripting, because I've already got a good idea for the intro, this and that. So I started scripting. Once I had a really good idea of how the game plays, but then I hadn't finished the story yet, so I thought, okay, let's just play as I script, just to do a little experiment, see what happens. And that, because there was that part of the script, wasn't there, where I was like, I literally don't know what happened at the end.
Yeah, you were like, it's been months, but I couldn't tell if that was like just the way you wanted to structure the video, as like, this is a wild ride, let's just see what happens as it goes along. But
no, it was honestly like kind of how I said it, just like you know, I haven't finished it yet, but we'll see what happens.
Well, I should say that since the last episode, I watched your Bloodlines video.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I checked that out, and I copy and pasted the link at the end for the what is it?
You did?
The PSP.
Yeah,
but it was a very good video. Very good video. I mean,
thank you.
There was some stuff in that I didn't realize at all.
What about the game?
Yeah, about the game. I mean, like, I had it in my head that the gameplay was a lot better than it actually looks.
Oh yeah, you see a lot. There's like that CG trailer at the beginning. Well, if you can call it CG, I don't know. But one thing I will quickly say about that then is, although I'm proud of that video still, and I'm glad that it got a lot of views and still does every now and then, I actually cringe a bit when I listen to it, because like my voiceover skills were nowhere near as good as they are now, and I just cringe a bit. I'm like, oh, why do I sound like that? You know, because it was one of my first, like, that was only a few months into when I started the channel, so I just don't think I was. You know, the more videos you make, the more you learn about how to present. I feel, and so when I look back at that, I cringe. But I do still think it's a good video. It's just
I think the actual
my voice, bro,
is good. Oh yeah, you should listen to my first video. I'm doing a totally different voice.
Yeah, it's
trying
weird,
to sound
isn't
dramatic.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
To be fair, I tried to sound a bit dramatic in my new video. Sometimes it requires a dramatic voice, but then other times you look back at old videos, like you said, and you're like, I don't know about that one.
I think it sounds fine for everybody else watching. It's only because you hear yourself all the time that you know that's not how I sound at all.
Well, you know, you are your biggest critic, they say, don't
Very
they?
true, very true.
Yeah. One thing I did want to mention sort of off the top of the episode is about Spotify, because for those of the people watching that don't know, we are also on Spotify. The link should be in the description, so if there's anyone watching that thinks they'd be better off listening, you know, feel free to check that out. And I will ask, if you guys do enjoy the show, be sure to rate it, however many stars you like, but if you really love us, to rate it 5 stars on Spotify. I don't really know what that actually does, but I
presume
think I hear
gets
that's
us
a
in
good
front
thing.
of more people.
Yeah, maybe it somehow goes into the Spotify algorithm if there's something like that. I don't know. It's got to, hasn't it? How to get more listens on Spotify, surely.
Yeah, just ask ChatGPT, how do we get more listens on Spotify?
Yeah. And it will say, well, and it will go in depth. But yeah, so I mean, if there's anything, you know, you want to talk about off the top, I would say, you know, go for it now, because I don't want to end up over talking you, because I do have a little topic I did want to mention before we get into the main.
Ooh, I do have like a thing that I've been researching for a future video that I suppose I could talk about a little bit, because we talked briefly about the Assassin's Creed movie
we did
last week, little hint.
Yeah.
So I am doing something based around the movie, and I rewatched like a good majority of the film, and it's just wild. I definitely recommend rewatching it, because there's so much that now it's like nearly 10 years after that film came out, and like the way the series is now, it put it into a totally different perspective for me, and it's an interesting film. There's so much like little details that I didn't notice.
Do you like the movie? Are you a fan of it?
You know what? It's a film that I think the fans can appreciate, but I know that anybody else watching it will have no idea what it's about and think it's awful. I've got my criticisms, like the editing is atrocious. It is not good at all. The color grading is like aggressively blue or aggressively like greeny yellow, which makes it look terrible. But like, I don't hate the fact it focuses on the modern day, and there's some like cool cameos that were in the deleted scenes, and like it respects the games, I think, more than like the actual games have done recently. So I don't know, it's a bit of a bittersweet sort of guilty pleasure film, I think.
Yeah, I mean, my issue with that movie, and I know I've told you this off camera as well, is that I watched it in the cinema when it was new, back in, was it 2015, 2016?
2016, yeah.
Yeah, I remember. It came out on my birthday. It came out on December 21st.
No way! Your birthday is when the world ends.
Yeah, no, I know, it's crazy.
No
every
way.
time I play AC3 and Desmond's dad's like 21st December.
That
2000.
ominous date
not
approaches.
2000. That's my birth. I like how I just said 2000 because that's when I was born. I mean 2012.
Yeah.
I'm always like, yeah, my birthday. But yeah, going back to the movie, it came out on my birthday. I don't think I watched it on my birthday, but I went with my dad to watch it, and because my dad sort of played, it doesn't really as much these days, but he played Assassin's Creed as well. He's the one who showed it, the original to me when I was little. Anyway, so I watched it, and obviously I was young. I just loved Assassin's Creed, and I don't think at that age I could have really looked at it in a more critical lens. It was just, oh, sick, Assassin's Creed, so I loved this. And I remember like the sort of opening of the film was coming on, and like I was getting like goosebumps and shit, like, oh my god, Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
And then, but you know, I haven't watched the movie since, and I really have forgotten a lot of it, so I do need to rewatch it.
Yeah, there's so much to unpack in that film. For example, I'm just going to give you a little bit of like trivia here. So there's a bit where he's just came out the Animus for the first time. Him and Marion Cotillard's character are just talking about like his motivation, like why he's all right with killing people. And they're just looking at a wall behind them, and the wall has like all these little newspaper snippets of like how he got arrested and him growing up and stuff, and like them tracing back his ancestry. They're looking at all his previous assassin descendants. There's like a one from Louisiana, this like cowboy looking one, and then there's just a random photo of Connor, like a sketch of Connor.
What?
And I'm like, what? Huh? What?
So, and that's meant to be whose ancestor?
Well, I don't know if it is his if it's Callum Lynch's, Michael Fassbender's.
Yeah, that doesn't
ancestor.
make sense.
Because they don't say it. Like I'm looking at the little newspaper clippings around the picture of Connor, and none of them say, "Oh, this is his ancestor." It's just a sketch of Connor that's thrown in the middle of all these, and it is definitely Connor. Like it's got all of the trademarks of him. It's really weird, and like I think that there are people on the production of that film that really get Assassin's Creed and have like a lot of like knowledge, and they love the games, and they sneak in these little things that the filmmakers would never have noticed, and if they did, they would have gone, hang on, that makes no sense. So
that can't have been his ancestor then. Like, it can't have been showing his ancestors, because that would have made no sense.
Yeah, like Desmond and Callum Lynch can't have the same ancestor.
No.
I don't think, anyway.
That's weird. Do you know, speaking of movies, now this isn't obviously to do with Assassin's Creed, but I did want to ask, I don't think you've seen it, but I was going to ask if you had and stuff. It's the most weird film I've ever seen. So the other day, me and my girlfriend went to the cinema. We went to a late night viewing.
Oh,
it was
you
literally
went to
like
cinema to see it?
Yeah. Yeah, it was like 11 p.m. viewing. It was like a late night one. And we went to watch it. It was called The Substance. And obviously I won't say too much because there's spoilers, but bro, it was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Like, it was one of those like trying to be really artful, like, artistic, lot of symbolism and all this. But I don't know, man, I thought it was a bit, it felt a bit contrived, like they were trying to force the imagery, symbolism too much. And
so it wasn't
I was laughing.
Actually clever.
Yeah, it felt a bit like, again, as like I said, contrived. Like it was the director's like, look, we want this, this, and this. But then I was just laughing through it. There was this one scene where like flames just came on screen in the shape of a heart for no reason. I just burst out laughing. And stuff. It is a weird one. Anyway, it's just, I don't really want to give spoilers. I guess, because I guess it's new. But there was this. It's just insane. And again, originally I was going to ask you, have you seen this? But I don't think you have you?
No, I've seen like the TikTok edits of the girl in it and stuff like that, but not much like substance of like the actual the actual movie. I gather she like takes something that makes her younger. Is that what it's about?
Yeah, she like she's like a woman in like 50s or something, and she's like depressed as hell. Like she wishes she was young and more attractive and all this. So she takes this substance and yeah, there you go. See, it's very in your face. And she just it's just weird. Like the way it's like done, like she doesn't become young. She like births another person. It's really weird.
What?
It's like insanely gory and weird. Like another version of her like bursts out of her body. It's grotesquely weird. And then like her mind is in that other body, and then the other body's like in a weird like state of like coma, if that's the word. And it's really weird. And then you have to switch every 7 days, but then she doesn't because she wants to stay young. And then but then it's like they become two different people, and it's really weird. And then in the end, well, I don't know if I should say, but the end is just insanely fucked up and creepy and weird. And like it just comes out of nowhere, and I was going like, no in the cinema, like, what is this? And I looked at my girlfriend. God. My girlfriend looked depressed. Like it was not good. And we came out and we were like, what the fuck was that?
At least it sounds interesting.
Yeah, like I would obviously you got your own life, but if you end up watching that movie, I would love to hear what you had to think about it.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, I should definitely watch it for a future episode, I think, because I have been wanting to watch that one because it's quite like hot at the minute. Like everybody wants to see it. Yeah, everybody's talking about it.
Yeah. Well, you say that. Me and my girlfriend were literally the only people in the cinema.
Oh. Really?
Well, it was like 11 p.m. at night. So
I suppose. But that, kind of fits the creepy vibe, maybe?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we just walked out of that cinema, like, looking at the floor, like, frowning, like, what the hell? Like, if it can do one thing good, the one thing that it did was it definitely leaves you feeling really, like, confused and weird. Like, what was that ending? Like, what did I just watch? But it's like I was trying to figure out the meaning, but it just feels like there is no meaning. I don't know, it's a weird one.
I guess she just wants to be young again.
Or
is it like appreciate your age gracefully, that sort of thing?
Yeah, it's like, the more she does it, the worse things happen, and then she wishes she never did it in the first place, sort of thing. But I don't know.
Have you seen a film called The Neon Demon?
I've never heard of that.
So it came out in 2015. It's like a similar kind of concept, I think. It's about like a model who is really good, and she's the youngest one there, and she's like beating all the others who've been there for decades, like all the other models. Like she's the new, fresh on the scene, and she's getting all the jobs. And
sounds exactly the same.
Yeah, and like the older models end up killing her and eating her.
Oh my God.
The I don't know what the message is, but yeah, after they eat her, they get like food poisoning, and she like gets her revenge after she's died, and it's very artsy, but it sounds very similar to that.
It does. It does sound similar, actually. Yeah. Oh, I would love to say the ending, but I feel like I don't want to, just in case you do see it, because you have to be not expecting it.
Okay.
Then again, I might have just ruined it by saying that. But
No, well, maybe I can find it on a suspicious website at the weekend.
Yeah.
Me and my girlfriend could watch it. And then
I wonder... It's probably on, like... You can probably stream it legit now, can't you? Because they usually like overlap it these days, don't they? Like,
that's what I'm going to do. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to watch it legit. Just like how I watched...
Disclaimer.
Just like how I watched the Assassin's Creed movie for the video.
Oh yeah, of course. It's the old YouTube Reds. Do you remember that?
Oh my God, I do. Oh my god, when YouTubers would get their own like series.
It was weird, wasn't it? And they also had like whole like actual. Do you know the Netflix show Cobra Kai?
Yeah, that started on YouTube, didn't it?
Yeah, it was YouTube Red series.
That's so weird. I mean,
I
it
know,
obviously didn't take off because YouTube is
clearly
free.
not. Yeah, I feel like, well, I think that turned into YouTube Premium, didn't it? When they stopped doing shows, because it was like I remember what I would do. There was this one show on there that actually I really liked. It was called Impulse, and it was about a girl that could teleport. It was actually really good, I thought. There was 2 seasons of it. So what I did was, when season 1 came out, I got a 30-day free trial of YouTube Red, so I watched it all for free. And then when season 2 came out, I made a new YouTube channel, like account, just so I could get another free 30-day trial, and I watched it again. And it was really good, and it got ended on a cliffhanger. Then they cancelled all those shows, or they tried to sell them off to Netflix and stuff.
Yeah.
And Netflix, Amazon Prime, nobody wanted to buy Impulse, so it got cancelled on a cliffhanger. I was so pissed off.
Oh man. Well, this is the announcement now. Bring back Impulse. If you're watching.
Yeah, hashtag this is my impulse or something, I don't know.
Oh yeah. So I watched a movie through legitimate means at the weekend. It is actually on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
It's the infamous "Don't Worry, Darling" with Harry Styles and Florence Pugh.
I've never seen that one.
Oh, it's something, all right. So I watched it with my girlfriend because we wanted to laugh at a film, and Harry Styles has a very funny voice. So we watched it. Just in real life, he has a funny voice. So trying to watch him act is something else entirely.
Oh, right. Is he a good actor?
You know what? He's not terrible, but he's also not very good.
One of those.
At particular things, like shouting.
Right, okay.
So it's a really weird movie. Florence Pugh and Harry Styles are living in a 1950s like oasis, like, it's the traditional man goes to work every day, woman stays and does the cleaning, they're happy, all of that. And there's some sinister undertones, but it takes an hour and 40 minutes to actually get to what the point of the movie is. And then it gets really good.
It's a lot of setup then, is it?
It's a lot of it's like a horror movie where Florence Pugh is just walking around the neighborhood and then she'll see something creepy and then we'll get some stupid imagery. Like you were saying with The Substance, we get imagery of like a bunch of dancers like making an eye out of their like dancing. They make like the shape of an eye and it's just rubbish like that. But then it has like a twist. Like at the end, revealing what's actually going on, and it's actually a really good twist that they then do nothing with, and the movie ends without a conclusion.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's if you want to skip to the last 20 minutes, you'll probably think the movie is good, but then you'll watch that 20 minutes and realise that it's still not.
Oh, God. So did you feel like you kind of just wasted 2 hours of your life?
Yeah, I expected it to be funnier than it was. It's kind of just really boring. And then when you finally stop laughing and like pay attention to what's happening because it's getting good, there's like nothing there. And suddenly you're like, oh, well, I gave you a chance. We shut up, we listened, and you didn't have anything to offer. So, unfortunately, a rotten film to watch at 2 a.m.
Oh, God, yeah. Well, you've got to not appreciate, but you've got to sit through the bad to appreciate the good. Yeah.
And I mean, that's the movie that ended Harry Styles' career. I don't think he's an actor anymore. I think he stopped. He stopped after that movie, so...
The only thing I really heard about that movie was the whole like drama with him and the director. Like she had an affair with him, did she not?
Well, exactly. Do you not think the movie would therefore have something funny in it? Like, oh, it's a bit awkward, it's a bit tense. No, it's got none of that. Those two characters never even speak to each other. Because the director's in it. She obviously put herself in it.
Yeah.
And they don't. It's a nothing movie, which is sad because I thought it was going to be one of those like drinking game movies, like this is going to be funny to drink to.
Yeah, it's so bad it's good.
Yeah, it's not even that. It's the
It's
worst
just so
kind
bad,
of movie.
it's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you know, as I said, you gotta sit through the bad stuff, so when the good stuff comes around, you can be like, oh, this is what I like, you know, this, yeah.
Oh, I see how that could be a really good segue.
Oh, go for it.
Where you're saying you've got to sift through the bad to get to the good, and today's main topic is talking about the good. In fact, the very best.
Oh, yes, the top 5 moments in Assassin's Creed, handpicked by The Exile and Willis Makes Movies. So, yeah, I guess let's explain it. So, obviously, we picked 5 of our own personal favourite moments in Assassin's Creed games. For me, it's all mainline titles. What about you?
I'm the same. Yeah. I went with just the main line.
Yeah. Obviously, there's going to be a spoiler warning because these are probably very pivotal moments, or maybe not, but I think some of mine at least are pivotal moments in the story. So yeah, there's obviously going to be a spoiler warning. Other than that, though, I guess we can just get into it unless you wanted to brief anything else before we start.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, I'd like to ask, what was your mentality going into making this list? What defines like a best moment for you?
For me, it's more just what, like, when I think about this game and mostly the story of said game, what sticks out to me? You know, what scene do I have in my head where I'm like, yeah, I really felt, I guess, emotion in that with the characters, as well as how it was, I guess, you could say shots because, you know, obviously in a cutscene and stuff. Just what resonated with me and what do I, when I think about that game fondly, what part makes me think of that? That's kind of the sort of avenue I went down when thinking about my top 5 moments. What was it like for you?
Well, I think there's like 2 different avenues you can go down here. It's like, what is the loudest, most entertaining like cutscene? Like, for example, Assassin's Creed Revelations has loads of like set pieces where Ezio's like, you know, he's like the cart chase at the beginning, for example. Some people might say like that's their favourite moment because it's this big bombastic action scene to start it. But for me, I'm looking more at the conversations. That's what I've found with my top 5 here, is all of them are like interesting conversations that have something to say about the narrative of the game and the franchise as a whole. Then they're the smaller moments that I think I'm looking for.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I think, I guess I can also agree with that to a certain extent. But yeah, should we just get into it?
Yeah, I've got a couple of honourable mentions.
Okay. Should we start with the honourable mentions just to give people a vibe of what we're going to get into?
And what I was going to say is, if we've both got the same one, let's wait until, like, we've both gotten to it. Like, say I've got a number 5 that's your number 3. I would wait until we get to number 3 to talk about it, if you know what I mean.
What, so that we can sort of both talk about it together?
Yeah, because we don't want to, like, I talk about it, then you talk about it. So we'll just see. We'll see if we've got any crossovers. I don't think we will, personally. But we'll see.
All right. Fair enough. All right.
Okay.
Do you want to start with yours? Or do the honourable mentions first, maybe?
Yeah. So I've got a couple of honourable mentions I'll throw out first. First of all is the opening of Assassin's Creed Origins.
We will find you. We will find you in your sleep. Sleep. I never sleep. I just wait in the shadows, and I will kill you all! Everyone who sniffed the air that day in Siwa!
Because that is purely awesome. I mean, I think everything around it, pacing-wise, is a little bit bad. I think the opening of Origins kind of stumbles to get going. But that moment where, you know, he catches the knife through the mask, pure cinema.
Pure cinema ecstasy.
Yeah. I think it is the moment people remember with Bayek as well.
I mean, it's just a grand entrance to his character, isn't it?
Absolutely. So was that on your list anywhere, or?
No, it wasn't actually.
Ooh,
I did think about that, but I just thought,
it's not like a full scene, is it?
I mean, if I was going to be objective, like what is one of the best scenes, I'd probably say that. But because this is more of a subjective choice of mine, what resonates with me more, I would say I didn't put that in the list anyway. But if I had a top 10, it probably would have been in top 10.
Okay, so I have one more, which is another opening, and it's the opening of Black Flag.
You see her? Man the cannons!
Where he's on the ship under attack, and then we get that amazing shot of the lightning coming down, and we see the silhouette of Duncan Walpole, and then the whole ship, gets taken. I think that in terms of creating an opening that's accessible for everybody to, from the start, get really into, Black Flag, puts you right in the heat of the action straight away, and I think it's, the best opening the series has had.
Yeah, I do think that. Yeah, I think the pacing of the beginning of that game is really good.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It just gets you right into the gameplay mechanics. It obviously serves as a tutorial. It also serves as world building, sort of story setup. Yeah, it is a good intro for sure.
The second you get to Havana, you're done. You know everything. You can get going. As opposed to the game before that, Assassin's Creed 3, which takes half of the game to get started.
Yeah, exactly. They learned their lesson from the third game for sure.
Yeah,
well, not the third game, but you know what I mean.
But those are my honourable mentions. So should I get into my number 5?
Go for it.
Okay. I don't know. I need a flashy graphic or something on the screen. Number 5. So, my number 5 is near the end of Assassin's Creed Origins when Aya and Bayek separate.
I am not a father anymore. I am not a husband. I am not a Magi. I am a hidden one.
Yes. We are the hidden ones.
I was torn between two different scenes here, because we've got the scene where the Assassin's Brotherhood is first assembled, and we have them running on the rooftops and they're doing all of their assassin-y stuff. But I think the better scene is the one after that, where Aya and Bayek have this conversation about how they can't keep being together. They have to leave for what's for the good of the future of the Creed. They can't be in a relationship. And, obviously, it ends with that wonderful shot of the eagle skull revealing the logo, and you just feel in terms of an origin story, I would say Assassin's Creed Origins doesn't really, lean into it too much. It tries to do its own thing, and then occasionally, reference Assassin's Creed a little bit, with the Hidden Blade bit, where he chops his finger off. But that was the moment I was okay, I feel like I've watched the origins of Assassin's Creed now. That ticks the box of what this game was out to achieve.
I mean, that I think is a good one, because I think there's a lot of emotional weight to that scene when they had, obviously, firstly, because we've been experiencing this game with these two characters. We've learned about their relationship. We've learned about what, how their relationship kind of and shared experience binds what becomes later the Assassin's Brotherhood. And I think when they have to leave each other and separate, again, it's almost like a full circle moment, because this began with them together and now it has to end with them separated. So I feel like you feel that weight as a viewer, but then also because most people that have played Origins already have played as Ezio, they've played as Altair, they played as Connor, so we as the player also have that connection to the Brotherhood as well, which I think adds even more emotional depth to that scene, sort of on two fronts.
It's kind of like foreshadowing as well, because we know from the start that they can't stay together because of the way the Brotherhood works.
Exactly. It's It's quite a clever scene, I think, and I really like that it sort of begins almost they start this together in a relationship, which kind of juxtaposes, like you said, the rules of the Brotherhood and how that sort of dictates how you can't really have a relationship or something that isn't really I guess a possibility in the future. That's a good one.
Because like the whole motivation for Bayek through Origins is revenge for what happened to his son. And I like that the end of the game is like, look, we are no longer a family. Like, we cannot have this family dynamic. You need to be doing what you're doing. You're doing the right thing, but you're not doing it for the right reasons. And that's where the tenets of the creed start to be introduced. I wish we'd seen them get fully introduced in a sequel, but at least there is some inkling of like where the tenets came from. And I like that it's tied to such I think Bayek's a very emotional character, and to see how that becomes a character like Altair, who's very reserved, it's I love it. It's such a good ending.
And you could also potentially interpret that as, again, with Bayek being such an emotional person, and I think he definitely is aware of that, but I think it's quite almost poetic in a way that, generations down the line, the Brotherhood becomes very, like you said, has characters that are very reserved, very almost emotionless. Until sort of Altair's reformation of the creed in the end. But yeah. All right, shall I get into my number 5?
Yeah, go for it.
To be fair, one thing I will say is mine isn't really in order. So if I say 5, I don't mean that's my least favorite out of the 5.
Yeah.
It's just this is the order I'm saying it. So
maybe we should just say like next up or whatever. Because mine, I did think of the ordering a little bit, but they're difficult. It's difficult to rank them.
Yeah, it is. Well, anyway, I mean, you said top 5. You said number 5, so I'll just say number 5 as well. Okay, my number 5 is the Arno and Elise balloon scene.
So that's it then. The course of history forever altered, never again to return.
Maybe we can't go back. But going forward isn't necessarily an ending.
Elise,
I don't know what that would be specifically called, but you know the one I mean, right?
Yeah. When I remember he like chases after her in the balloon, and then they kissy.
It's like they're obviously working together at this point. I just thought when it comes to gameplay as well as the cutscenes, interspersed, I just thought it was a really good part of Unity. I think it's what stands out to me one of the most things that stand out to me. Just the fireworks are going off, you're running across the rooftops, you got epic music coming in, you feel there's a lot of weight to the gameplay aspect of that as well. And then Arno gets into the hot air balloon, there's a moment with Elise, and it's I guess it just builds upon their relationship as well. I like it. It's one of the things that stands out to me about like their characters as well. Like when I think of Arno, obviously I think a lot of different things, but that scene stands out to me as just, I guess, resonating with me in a way that this is the sort of storytelling that I kind of like.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I don't really have much. I'm not saying
it's
it was
a feeling.
The most new. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It just gives you a feeling that resonates with you and the sort of things that you like about games or storytelling and that sort of thing. And I just think it's a nice. Yes, it's a bit of a set piece for the game, but I think it works. I like it. And it's just my only real reason why it's top 5. What's your opinion on that scene, if you recall?
Well, it's never occurred to me until you said it there, but you're right. It does, like, all of my top 5 are just cutscenes, but the way you've said this also incorporates gameplay, that's something I've never thought about, so that's a good angle to come at it from. Also, I think it is probably, like, one of the best moments in Unity, because of, like, it's a little bit whimsical, it's like a bit of levity when that entire game is so miserable.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. Yeah, I think like, you're amidst a revolution. There's a lot of death. There's a lot of suffering in that world, and then you've got these fireworks, this hot air balloon. It's like it almost sort of amplifies
It's
in
like
a way
the tragedy,
like all
isn't
the
it?
suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's quite nice actually. And I think again, like obviously this is one of the memories where Arno is, I guess, working with Elise for a greater cause, I suppose. But they're also sort of reconnecting, which is nice. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and say that their story is the best written thing ever, and I love it and it's amazing. But I just think specifically this moment is quite well done, and I think because it's one of the better. The better done moments within Unity. Again, that's why it kind of stands out to me. But that's all I have to say about that one, really.
Yeah, it does sort of it is a bit like weird when a really good scene happens in a bad game. I want to say, I mean, Unity's not a bad game, but the story is like I think lacking in weight.
Yeah,
ironically,
I'd almost say it's almost mediocre, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's just
it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, some would argue mediocre means bad. I don't know. I mean, compared to like some of the greater Assassin's Creed games, yeah, I guess it's kind of bad. But fuck it, I subjectively love Unity, and I think I always will.
I'm the same. I mean, it's easily the game I've played the most of.
Really?
Oh yeah, like in terms of just which game do I want to run around Paris, like run around the open world and just not. Just stick a YouTube video on and run around the open world. It is Unity because they make it so engaging.
Yeah, to be fair, just to add on to your point before we get into the next moment, one thing I do love about Unity, I've said so many times about how in my opinion, Unity's parkour system is nowhere near as intricate as the older games, and that's why I prefer the older games parkour.
Yeah.
However,
That's
I'm
an
not going to
episode
sit.
topic.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I don't love Unity's parkour, even though it is a bit janky, even though it's not got much control. I still love it because, like you said, when you just sit down, you put some music on or listen to a podcast or whatever, and you just run across the city from rooftop to rooftop. It does feel good,
Yeah.
Again, like I can segregate separate in my mind what is objectively better and what is subjectively more fun for me. And, I know that the AC1 to Revelations, again, you may disagree, but in my opinion, AC1 to Revelations parkour had a lot more of a higher level of control, and it was the more mechanically sound gameplay mechanic. But again, I can separate that between what is good and what I just love. And Unity's parkour, if I can't do Assassin 2 missions because there's not enough control, but just gliding from building to building, it just feels... It's satisfying, I think, and it gives you that boost of dopamine in your brain, I think. It's great.
It's a good combination of looking flashy and feeling good, which I think... Like, for example, the Assassin's Creed 3 and 4, like, parkour looks good, but it doesn't feel good to do.
Yeah,
Unity's got a good balance. And also, like, it's weird because I think Unity, when you're just running around the open world, it feels amazing. And then you, like, go into a mission, and suddenly it feels really restrictive and, like, janky.
In which game, sorry?
Like, Unity. Like, I mean, like...
Oh, in Unity, yeah.
For example, I think, because I've got it on PC and I'm just slowly making my way through the story, and I was on the mission where Arno and Elise are in that maze, and I was like, this is awful. But I love, like, just running around Paris, but doing the actual missions, I just don't think is very good at all. Aside from the black box stuff. The black box stuff is obviously incredible.
Yeah. I think, I can agree with that. It's a very, it's a game with a lot of good moments and a lot of bad moments.
We should do our top 5 worst scenes. That would be
I was just thinking
numerous.
that, actually.
All of Odyssey.
I was thinking about that. Yeah, that would be a good future episode, actually. Worst moments as well.
Oh, I can tell you already. It's the scene where that side quest in Odyssey where you're asked to sleep with someone's partner.
I think I remember that one.
It's what were they thinking? Anyway, let's move on.
Anyway. All right. What's your top 4? Or what's your number 4?
Okay, this one I think is going to be a bit of a surprise when I say what it's from. Okay. It's from Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
No judgment here.
We're putting some interesting ones in, and it is the scene where Evie and Crawford Starrick dance at the end of the game.
Who can learn?
Can they? Isn't everyone around you repeating the same steps? But if one man could remember the dance, could know the time, then he could change things for the better.
Okay, so when I did my character study on Evie Fry, I went into a bit more depth on this scene. I'm researching the entire game for a video, and it's just like, I think that Syndicate is just a bunch of side quests. But then you get this interaction at the end where I think it doesn't contextualize the game. It contextualizes Ubisoft and where their heads are at with Assassin's Creed as a franchise. And I don't know if that's just me looking into it too deeply, but it's what I got from the scene. So, to summarize what the scene is, Crawford Starrick is explaining why he wants the Shroud of Eden. Simple as that. And his motivation for doing that is that he thinks the whole Assassin and Templar war has gotten, worn out. It's going on and on and on, and it's repeating itself over and over without a winner. His main point is that nobody wins. So he wants the Shroud of Eden so he can outlive the conflict and go on to produce something new. Do you see where that may reflect somebody's feelings towards Assassin's Creed?
Interesting.
And
yeah.
Evie's response to this is not very, it's not a very good argument, and I think that's on purpose, because it's like the franchise doesn't understand that it needs to move on. And I mean, Origins is the game that came after this, and especially when Syndicate's team went on to do Odyssey, I think it's very telling that is one of the last conversations in that game. He says, time is a wonderful thing, Miss Fry. It heals all wounds. So he's saying that, over time, he can fix, any problems the Templars might have as a concept. He says, people trip over the same mistakes over and over. And Evie says, people can learn. That's her response.
People can learn.
And he says,
Isn't
can
that
they?
agreeing with him?
Yeah.
In a way.
I think she means, people don't always make the same mistakes. They can learn from their mistakes. And he says, can they? Isn't everyone around you repeating the same steps? And I'm like, yes! Assassin's Creed Syndicate is a game that's, just doing, it's going through the motions. And to then come out at the end of the game and say, look, we know, look how bad this was. We should do something different, right? Wink, wink. I think that whole scene is preparing us for, what is to come next. And I think it's quite smartly written for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely telling in a way, when you realise that it was Quebec, Ubisoft Quebec, that, like you said, went on to do Origins, Odyssey.
Yeah.
And they are going on to do Shadows, and it could also lend in with Shadows in the way that I really hope that they focus on the Assassins and Templars, but we haven't even heard... They haven't called Naue an assassin. They keep calling her a shinobi.
Yeah, I don't like that.
It could just be marketing, because they're like, well, we know we want to appeal to mainstream, but even still, I really didn't know what a shinobi was until we started hearing about it for Shadows. I had to look up that was the real word for a ninja.
So I don't know if this was confirmed or just something I heard a rumor a while ago, was that they're going to remove the word Templar entirely and just call them the Order. Did you hear about that?
No. Where did you hear that?
I don't remember now. I'm sure it was a leak or something. It might have turned out to be fake, but that's really stuck with me because I worry if that's going to be the case.
But why? Why can't they say the word? That's a bit... Doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. Maybe they're trying to detach themselves from, the real life Templars.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Oh, it just
I mean, we'll see.
makes me wanna. I hope that's not true. God,
I
it just
hope
makes
it's not
no
true.
sense. It just makes no sense because it's like, what? Tell me you hate Assassin's Creed without telling me you hate it. Do you know what I mean? I don't get it.
Whilst also,
like-
making it.
Yeah, literally. If you're gonna make something you hate, like commit to it and start to love it again, or make something new. You know? Oh, it pisses me off. I do think that I really do think it's just the corporate parts of Ubisoft, the ones that don't make the games, but they're the investors, the what else is it? Just people that work high up that sort about do all the sales stuff.
Yeah, the people that look at the numbers.
Yeah. Obviously, they're like, look, Assassin's Creed is like our cash cow. It's like Marvel of games, like we're going to keep it going. Or it might not be, but that's what they want it to be like, They want to make it this big thing. But the developers seem... Well, I don't know about Montreal. They might still have a appreciation for it. But most of the developers, especially Quebec, seem to just despise Assassin's Creed. And I don't know why.
Yeah, Quebec have got a real... I don't know, they got an issue with the franchise.
They really do. It's like they're almost like... there's a bit of animosity between them and the higher-ups. So like, are you seriously giving us another Assassin's Creed game to make when we wanted to make, whatever game that they have an idea for? So then they chuck all the gameplay elements that they actually want in their own game into this Assassin's Creed Shadows. Or maybe not Shadows, but, an Assassin's Creed game. That's what it feels like.
I mean, it might not be as malicious as that. I get the feeling that Quebec want to focus on history and fantasy and telling the history of the time period, and Montreal are maybe more focused on the story and the characters, whereas I don't know, I think Quebec would be happier if they just made an educational 3D render of a country.
Yeah, well, if they just made the Discovery Tour.
Yeah, which they did.
I think the thing with... I know this is a tangent, and I guess we'll get back to the top moments, but one thing I will just quickly say is I think the reason Montreal's games still have a slither of focus on the assassins is because obviously they got Darby McDevitt writing the story, and obviously he wrote Revelations, he wrote Black Flag, those
Black
are
Flag,
perfect
the best
examples
parts of Valhalla as well.
Yeah. So it's like, obviously he cares about Assassin's Creed and the story it's trying to tell. So I feel like when we've got a Ubisoft Montreal game coming, we know that, okay, it's gonna have good moments. If it's not gonna be a good game, it'll have good moments.
Yeah.
Whereas with Quebec, it's like, there might be good gameplay mechanics, but the story might not be what, at least, I'm looking for, at least anyway.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah. Anyway, should we get back onto our top moments?
Yes. I believe it's your number 4?
My number 4 is the ending of Assassin's Creed Revelations, but specifically, not the entire ending, but specifically when Ezio starts talking to Desmond.
I have lived my life as best I could, not knowing its purpose, but drawn forward like a moth to a distant moon. And here at last, I discover a strange truth. But I am only a conduit for a message that eludes my understanding. Who are we who have been so blessed to share our stories like this? To speak across centuries?
Oh, I was so close to putting that on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just such an iconic scene. I love it. I think it's got some of the most emotional weight to it for me. Every time I replay the Ezio trilogy, and probably, AC1 as well, I get really invested in Desmond's story and his journey, as well as Ezio and what he's doing. So then when it all comes full circle, and Ezio starts saying, Desmond, I know you can hear me, Desmond, and all this. It's just, I love it, because it's like, I just love the idea that, Desmond's in a virtual simulation reliving an ancestor's memories. The ancestor cannot even conceive of that technology, but he still knows somehow someone's listening. And I don't know, I just
got chills. I just got chills.
Yeah. Like, just the whole concept of that is just so cool.
He doesn't need to understand it.
Well, he even accepts it, doesn't he? He's like, look, he realizes that he is just the messenger. He is not the one that this message is meant for, and he knows it's for Desmond. And it's like at that moment, well, I'm sure before that moment as well, but he vocally says at that moment, like, look, you know, I understand, and here is the message. Listen, you know, it's just, his whole speech is just, I don't even know how to put it into words, but yeah, I really love it. It gives you that, it's like that goosebumps moment for sure in the Ezio trilogy. And I think when, just a quick sort of analysis of that scene, when Ezio takes off his braces, he drops his sword, I almost feel like that's a symbolization of, look, my journey is over. I realized the true meaning of this journey, that it is for something that eludes my understanding, as he says. And it's just a bit of symbolism to show that he has done what he's had to do. You know, he's letting go, literally. Yeah. And yeah, it's just it's a great scene. It's a great scene.
I think it's also helped by like the other games, because Desmond is this like ghost that Ezio keeps hearing about. And I think it's the beginning of Brotherhood when he gets back to the rest of them at the villa, and he's like, there's a guy called Desmond, we need to find out who he is, we need to understand what's going on. And it's like he doesn't realize that he's never going to meet him, and by the end of Revelations he accepts, like, I don't know what you are, but you've played such a pivotal role in my journey that I have to be thankful for like what you've given me retroactively.
Well, he says, again, this is going to be paraphrasing, because I don't remember it off by heart, but he says, like, who are we to be so thankful for playing a part in this? Or, do you know the bit I mean? Who are we to be so lucky or fortunate or something to live our lives as we do, speaking across generations or something? And it's just
that's it. Speaking across generations. That's the line.
And it's like he doesn't, like, he kind of gets it, and he's never going to fully get it, but like at the same time he perfectly sums up everything that Assassin's Creed kind of is. Yeah. And it's great. It's a great scene. It's really well written. It's probably one of my it's my top 5. I would say if I was to actually sort this set into number 1 being best, I would probably say this is my best scene.
Dies passing on the torch to Ezio, and then Ezio passes it on to Desmond. It's like a baton race to get to the end, and it sums up what Revelations is all about. The fact that Darby managed to write something so like nuanced, like it's a very thin line to try and write something that complex with all this animus stuff and actually making it feel tangible.
Yeah, without making it feel contrived and too focused on certain elements. He definitely tread that line of just perfect, a perfect balance between, Ezio's life, Desmond's life, the whole sci-fi part of it is just...
I was going to say, the only thing that lets it down is Desmond himself.
Oh, really? What makes you think that?
Because... Okay, well, first of all, I'm picturing his stupid Revelations face.
Yes, okay. That's kind a valid point.
He's kind of just blankly staring at Ezio from what I can remember. But then, I don't know, I just don't think he carries that same weight as a character, which is really unfortunate. Like, I really do like Desmond, but he doesn't have that same level of weight that I think Ezio is putting onto him. Like, it doesn't quite line up with the importance that Ezio's putting on him. I mean, he's going to save the world and stuff, but I mean, like, as a complex character, I don't think Desmond is there yet, whereas the other two were.
Yeah, I think that could be a symptom of, spending so much time with Ezio, learning his character and fleshing that character out a lot more. Because I think Desmond's character wasn't fleshed out enough in
definitely not.
Two brothers. Like, you had really good character development and moments in Brotherhood, but I think because we understood Ezio's character so much at this point, it carried more weight. And then with Desmond, it's like, Yeah, if you played the Desmond's journey in Revelations, it probably hits harder for Desmond for you as a player with Desmond. But yeah.
So my number 3 is the ending between Eivor and Odin in Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Leave me now. Nothing. With me. Wisdom. Glory. Power. What more do you need? Everything else.
And that was also one of mine.
Ooh.
Well, we might as well do it now because that was going to be my next one.
Oh, is it your number 3 as well?
Yeah. So it's our number 3.
Our number 3.
Yeah.
Ooh, interesting. Okay. Well, you've seen my video on it.
I have.
So I'm going to let you speak first.
Oh, okay. All right. I mean, what I love about it just, again, I think one of the things I love about it, like story, aside from like a complete focus on this scene before we get into that, is what I loved about it, amidst like a whole game that felt like a slog to get through.
Oh, yeah.
It felt like there was a lot of payoff for all that stuff when it got to this moment where I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, this is in-depth, this is intricate, this is focusing on, these 3 characters we've spent, Basim, Sigurd, and Eivor. Yeah, it was just a really great, I would say scene, but it's like, I mean, I don't know if you're focused on a specific scene of it, but I'm sort of thinking about it more in terms of just when they get to what's it called? What's it called? The Yggdrasil, and when they, when they game end Basim. And well, they don't actually, do they? But when they think they have.
Well, I made a whole video. I didn't want to do a video talking about Eivor as a character because I don't think there's enough. I mean, there's too much there for me to look at to research that. But the ending of Valhalla has always stuck out to me as like when I got to it, I woke up, the writers woke up, and suddenly we're in like the best like Assassin's Creed scenario we could have possibly been in. We're not only we're gonna wrap up the characters in a satisfying way, we're gonna make everything you just suffered through feel worth it, and then we're even gonna throw in a bit of modern day spice to get that storyline going again. Like, it achieves everything in one fell swoop in the span of like an hour. The second they get to that tree, it becomes an Assassin's Creed game again, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it feels like that's the moment where you can just really see like what Valhalla could have been if it wasn't so influenced by probably, again, the investors and the higher ups of the company that wanted it to be a very specific type of game. If Darby had free reign to write it exactly how he wanted, and the developers got to work in tandem with him without the sort of, look, we need this game to be this long and this and that. Like, if it could have been a concise, maybe even 30, 40 hours or something. I don't even think it needs to be that long, but let's just say that, again, this part of the game just really, again, shows you what could have been, I think.
That's true. I mean, the presentation as well just goes from like, we've seen so many of these just static cutscenes throughout the game, and suddenly we're going to fully mocapped cinematic sequences. They've got the music absolutely blasting in the background. The moment where Odin tries to grab Eivor at the end, and he's like, "What more do you need?" And he just says everything else. Like, this is, in context, a sage who's going against what a sage is.
Yeah.
And choosing like the friends and family that they've made along the way, the whole journey of Valhalla, learning to see these people as more than just game characters. Whether that actually happened is subjective, but if you love the characters that are helping him escape, you do feel that weight. And I mean, I don't care about any of these people. I'm still feeling like the gravity of the situation as Eivor chooses like family over this dude who's just really like angry about something that happened years ago.
you know, obviously Valhalla obviously tries to be an RPG more than an action adventure game.
Yeah.
And I think, funnily enough, this segment actually has one of the most RPG-ish elements that remind me that, oh yeah, this is a kind of an RPG. And it's only a little thing, it's only a small thing. And it's and you mentioned this in your video, it's in that fight with Odin when you realize you have to drop the axe.
Oh, yes.
It's like, that is just like, when you have to use your mind to like work around things in a game, like to me that's very much, oh, that's what you do in an RPG. And the you know, Odyssey, Origins and Valhalla, to me, I don't, you know, I play games like Baldur's Gate 3, which is such an intricate RPG. Even games like The Witcher 3, which is a really good RPG. When I look at Odyssey, Origins, and Valhalla, I like Origins and Valhalla, but I don't really see them as RPGs. I see them more as like soft RPGs, like more of an action adventure. But that moment there made me think, oh yeah, this is an RPG.
It reminded me a lot of like Batman Arkham Knight, because that game is full of like, just use your brain a bit. Don't just mindlessly play the game. Like, there's a scene where, oh, you've got to turn around and then look back in order for the cutscene to trigger and stuff. And it's like these little, like, it messes with your head, the way the game is working. I think there's a similar boss fight when you fight, oh my god, what's his name? Is it Ivar the Red in Valhalla?
Oh, is he the one that's like a pretty horrible person? And
he's like crazy.
He kills Chaelbert, doesn't he?
Yeah, but when you get into his actual boss fight, I'm pretty sure there's a bit where it's a bit similar to God of War, actually. I'm pretty sure there's a bit where you like die and he brings you back or something. He does something similar to that. I just remember playing that, and it's in the middle of a terrible arc. And I'm like, whoa, hang on. The game's good. What's happening? I need to look it up again, but I'm pretty sure that boss fight was very similar to the Odin one, where you actually have to think more than just button mashing.
I remember just fighting him. I don't remember anything specific. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I'm sure there's like a lot of good moments in that game. Like you said, where you gotta use your brain.
But they're lost behind all of the slog in between.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, again, like I said, if it was more of a 30-40 hour experience and it was able to just be purely creative, I think we would have had a really good Assassin's Creed game.
So I didn't think of this one like in an order. It's just a moment that I really like and I've seen recently. So it's the ending of Assassin's Creed 3 when Connor removes the hatchet from the stump, from the post at the homestead.
Yeah.
So, Assassin's Creed 3 is my favourite Assassin's Creed game. It's not particularly the best, but it's my personal favourite. And once you get through that entire game, because the pacing is so slow, it feels a lot more rewarding. It's that quiet moment where he kills him in the tavern, and then he goes home, and he's just looking around at like the homestead he's created and like the journey he's been on. And I don't know, there's just something about the way the music's swelling. It just makes it feel like such a cinematic, like, end to the game.
Yeah. I really don't have much I can say to that point because I haven't played AC3 in quite a few years until recently when I've started another playthrough.
Yeah.
But I haven't got to that bit yet, and I just feel like I can't really add to the conversation
we should probably come back to that.
Until I've refreshed my memory on it, you know? Because, again, I obviously I remember it. I remember the story. But it's hard for me to really recall the specific points. So I'll be an audience member and keep listening to your your thoughts on it.
I mean, I think my main pro with that is just how much it takes its time. It's not like it's just a cutscene that goes by really quickly. Like, okay, we're at the end of the game now. Goodbye. It's like we watch Connor slowly like drag himself home. He looks around and he's like, there's just that moment where he's holding the hatchet and he's just checking that everything is all right, and then he takes it out. Like he's still got his wits about him. He's still not 100% sure that everything's going to be okay, but then he looks around and he gets that, like, confirmation. He's like, yes, I've done it. I can relax now. And then he takes the hatchet out. And it's just, I don't know, it's like, it's very satisfying because of how much he's gone through to get to that point. That I appreciate that it's not like a big, massive ending. It's like a quiet moment. And I think that's where Assassin's Creed 3 excels at, really, is the quieter moments.
I guess it's like also it's good to have a quieter moment because like obviously his journey is so action packed. Like everything he goes through is so big and meaningful. Sometimes these smaller moments can be very meaningful because it's like almost a bit of respite amongst again a sea of like just epic shit, you know.
I just saw the maturity. Like, he doesn't need to say anything. Like, the writers didn't go, oh, he's going to give a speech, like, you know, Arno at the end of Unity. Like, they just let him... He said everything he had to during the game. It's like, let's just enjoy the moment, now it's done. Like, a moment of reflection, and now you can carry on playing. And yeah, I just... There's something about it. It always hits different every time I get to it.
Yeah. I love it. Should we get on to my next number 2, I think?
Yes, number 2.
Okay. Number 2 for me is Edward when he is... it's just after... what's her name has died, you know. Kid, is it? Mary
Read?
That's
Jim's
the one.
Kid.
What am I on about? Yeah.
Both answers are correct.
Yes, I knew. It's just, yeah, so she's just been game ended. And,
I don't remember this moment. I remember when she dies. That's a...
So, Edward, there's this whole sort of sequence between when Anne Bonny, or whatever she's called, and Kid they've been arrested and they're in jail. And they're being treated very badly in jail. So Edward goes to break them out. And they're both pregnant, I think. Or maybe it's just Anne.
Yeah, I think they both are.
They both do it because they know they won't be killed if they get pregnant. Anyway, it's just obviously she's just in in a bad way. Edward carries her out. She passes, very dramatic, weighty scene. Yeah. And then my favorite part about this though is when there's a moment of reflection between Edward and Anne. I can't remember how long after, in the same sort of part, I think, where they're just sat against a tree and she's got her head on his shoulder and they're just both feeling the same. They both completely just understand each other and they're both just taking a moment.
Guess what? That's my number 1.
No, is it? Is it actually?
I didn't realise that's when it happened. But yeah, my number 1 is the conversation when they're leaning on the tree and they're just reflecting on the fact that, like, I think Anne Bonny just says, everyone's dead.
Edward. Everyone's gone, aren't they? Mary, Raccoon, Touch, all the rest. I miss them so. Rough as they were. Do you feel that too? All empty inside?
I do. Devil curse me. I do.
The character that literally shows and pushes Edward in the right way of the creed, she dies. And then, again, like, that's a very intense moment because we as the player have had a lot of time with this character. We've come to like this character. We understand how this character's pushed Edward in the direction of becoming an assassin. and then she dies, and then you just again like you're there with the two characters leaning against a tree, and you almost feel like you're there with them because you're feeling the same emotion.
So I was in two minds whether to put the ending of Black Flag as number one, because I feel like that's like the obvious answer, is, you know, the bit where he sees the ghosts of everyone and then he goes and sees his daughter. Like, I feel like that's the most emotionally weighty end to an Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, first of all, that's going to be a really boring answer, but also there's a much better scene beforehand, which is the one where, they just sit against the tree and just, like, reflect on the fact that they've made some pretty bad choices and they've suffered the consequences of it. And, like, it's just really, like, mature writing. It's not treated like a I don't know. I feel like the scene where they see them all as ghosts is, like, a less impactful way of doing it. Like, just showing who's left and how gutted they are and how they only just caught up with the moment and realised, like, what they've done. And then for it to segue into the fact that Edward hasn't lost everything because the assassins have been always, like, watching him in the background and, like, they're the people he can now rely on. Like, there's still hope at the end of the tunnel sort of thing. I think that's, like, it's what the whole game's about, really. And his journey comes full circle in that moment.
Yeah, and just to sort of top off on what you're saying there, he spends a lot of the game surrounded by lots of people, but he's very selfish and very looks inwards in that regard. So, but then when there is this moment where pretty much everyone's gone, he's pretty much by himself. He actually feels the most
like alone.
Well, no, I was going to say he is alone now, but he almost feels like he realizes that he wasn't before. Actually, he did have all these people.
Yeah.
It's funny, just like he's got all these people around him. He's very selfish and very focused on himself. When he becomes more selfless, more focused on others, and that character progression, it happens when it's too late. Pretty much everyone's gone. It's not too late for him. But it's just that moment, I think there's more weight to it when he's maturing, these experiences are what matures him.
Yeah, I don't remember if there's actually a bit in the game where they say that Stede Bonnet had died, but I certainly missed it entirely. So when he appears as a ghost at the end, I was like, oh my god, he died and Edward didn't even know.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, no, I don't think they mentioned it.
He cared so little for this guy who was his friend and looked up to him. He cared so little about him that he was gone without him even noticing. And I think that always sat with me.
Yeah. I think the last moment we see him is he's got his own little ship and he's like, and he's like, you've been a good friend to me, this and that, and that's the last time you see him.
It's so sad. It's such a sad game. That latter half when everybody just starts getting like picked off.
That's why it's so good though. It's why it's so good because that it's Assassin's Creed. Like it's got the word assassin in the title. It's gonna be full of that sort of thing, and I think. Yeah, it's just good. I like it. It's a great game.
That is the best game Derby's written.
Yeah, I could probably agree with that. Yeah.
Okay, well, I suppose this rounds out our ranking with your number one.
Yeah, no, I thought you were ending it off before I could do my number one. Then
that'd be quite funny. What? Actually, guys, you know what? It doesn't matter, does it? Can we leave a poll down below? Does the number one matter?
Number one. My number one ranking of top 5 moments of Assassin's Creed is... It's not really my number one. It's just like this happens to be the last one I'm saying. Is AC1, the ending of AC1 with Altair and Al Mualim, and then the Piece of Eden activates.
Wisdom is much grief. And he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. Destroy it! Destroy it as you said you would.
I can't.
Yes, you can, Altair. But you won't.
Okay, I get it. Yes.
And I'll give a quick round off of my reasonings. I just think again, I thought about this as, this game, it was the first in the series. This was a time when we didn't know where it was going. We didn't even know if we were going to get another Assassin's Creed game. This was a very mysterious game, with Desmond being captured, but we didn't really know, like, the whole ins and outs of it. We didn't really know what this piece of Eden could really do right until the end. There were little ways of alluding to it within the story, like when Al-Mualim holds out the apple, trying to control Altair in near the beginning of the game, but nothing happens. There's things that allude to it, but you don't really see the true effects of this apple right until the end of the game. I think at the time, in 2007, I think that would have been a very weighty moment, like, oh my god, wow, like, this shit actually does have powers. And, you come head-to-head with Al-Mualim, who has been guiding you this whole time. Well, misguiding you, I guess you could say. And once this, battle, I guess you could say, is over, we see the apple. It activates and shows a map of all the pieces of Eden across the world. And then there's this almost, pardon the pun, but this revelation for Altair. There's a revelation for Altair, there's a revelation for Desmond, and there's a revelation for Abstergo, because Abstergo now know the locations of where they need to go. Altair realizes there's a lot more to than what meets the eye, and he obviously then, as we know, he takes the apple and he learns from it.
Yeah.
And then there's a revelation.
You thought you knew what was going to happen. Psych.
Yeah.
You thought you knew everything.
Yeah, and then with Desmond, the revelation is, oh shit, everything I've been taught as a kid that I didn't believe, it's true, And I think kind of, although not in the same way, I will take something you said about AC3. There's not actually, after what's his name, Al-Mualim dies.
Yeah.
It's just quite a silent moment at the end. You as the player can walk towards the apple, but you can't really do anything. There's just a moment of like a calm after the storm, but it just gives you a moment to just like process what you've seen and wonder where it's going next. And that same thing happens for Desmond and Altair. They're processing like everything together. You, Altair, and Desmond have this like shared moment, which I really like.
Do you think that the mission in Revelations, which picks up immediately after, do you think that helps that scene or hinders it?
I don't know.
It's very different, like tonally and everything. Like I don't think it flows very seamlessly from what we just saw. There's still like a little gap of time we're missing.
Yeah, to be honest, I kind of wish he didn't go straight into a battle with a bass,
Yeah.
I kind of wish that wasn't the way it went. Because, my headcanon's like, yeah, he takes the apple, then he goes off somewhere remote to focus on it, and then he starts, so I don't know. Yeah, I think personally, Revelations maybe hinders that moment, or at least slightly could take away from it. But then again, like in the game of AC1 itself, that is still there, and I think it's a fairly powerful moment. But yeah, that's my top 5.
Excellent. I've got one little thing I wanted to add to AC1's ending, just while we're talking about the ending.
Okay, yeah.
I've googled the quote just to make sure I got this right. So a lot of Assassin's Creed 1 hangs on the relationship between Malik and Altair, and Malik is sort of informing us of the general opinion of Altair as the game goes on. Everybody hates him at first, and then they slowly start to like him and appreciate him again. And that's all capped off at the end of the game when Malik comes to save Altair at Masyaf. And there's this quote at the beginning of the game where Altair first goes to the first city, and he sees that Malik has lost his arm and is now the bureau leader. And he says, "Safety and peace, Malik." And Malik responds, "Your presence here deprives me of both." So he's not like, he's not too happy that he's there. And I think it hits so much better, like, on top of everything else that's happening at the end of AC1, that he comes to save him at the end. I mean, I think when it comes to Assassin's Creed 1, I was surprised when anything happened that wasn't on, the same repetitive cycle that the game had been following. But he says, "Safety and peace, my friend." So he says the same thing. But Malik responds, "Your presence here will deliver us both."
Yes, I remember that.
It comes full circle, and he's like, it's just neat, isn't it? It's just a cool little way of wrapping up their relationship, and I'm still really angry that he got killed off screen. I liked Malik.
Yeah. He lends really nicely into Altair's, character development, I think. And agreed. I don't really have anything. I think you've said it perfectly. There's nothing really I can say.
It's just that little bit extra that adds on to that ending. Is just that little bit beforehand where we just wrap up everything that's been happening, but it's just done in a good way. It's not done in a way that's like confusing, or I mean, it is confusing, but it's not like bad. You know what I mean? You don't leave it going, well, what the fuck was that? Like,
it's not like convoluted. It's
exactly. It's very straightforward, and it wraps up everything that it needs to. So even though Altair's story is left like kind of on a cliffhanger, you feel like the resolution to this chapter is done.
Yes, it could have easily ended there. The whole series could have ended there. You know,
God,
and
imagine.
it would have been a satisfying ending.
Is the last line in the game? I was just thinking. Is it when Desmond looks at the wall and goes, "What the fuck"?
Yeah, wait, does he say what the fuck to that? I can't remember.
I think he does. Oh, he goes, "What the hell?" Because he sees it on the wall.
Again,
Imagine.
like that to me, that must have been alluding to another game.
Yeah. Or it's like a very artsy way to end it.
I mean, then again, that's what I'm saying though. Like, even though that obviously plays in nicely to AC2, it still would have been a satisfying ending to me. I wouldn't have felt like, oh, it ended on a cliffhanger. I would have felt like, no, it ended with more questions asked than answered. But again, that was what Assassin's Creed used to thrive off, in my opinion.
Well, I think that wraps up our moments.
Episode 3. I think it wraps up episode 3. Yeah, I think this is probably the best episode we've done so far. Like, now we've got into the swing of things.
I think I agree. I like getting into the deeper side of it. You know, the stuff that we actually enjoy talking about instead of just like bashing on Ubisoft for an hour.
Yeah, I think, obviously, I think the thing like with a new podcast is like it's always gonna have like a few teething problems. Also, you're gauging like the vibe of it and stuff. But I think like now we've done 3 episodes, we're probably a lot better at sort of knowing the way to present it and stuff. So I mean, to the viewers watching at home, I hope that they can agree and they can that they can comment below. Let us know if they enjoyed this episode, what their top 5 moments are.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let us know. I always like hearing people's opinions on like the scenes because they always say something that you've just never even thought of.
I know. It's just I love it. Yeah, it's great. It's great to like interact with the community for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, shall we wrap this one up then?
Yeah, don't forget to follow us on Spotify and give us those 5-star, any star ratings, depending on whatever you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe on our good old YouTube channel. We just passed 400 subscribers at the time of recording this episode, that's crazy considering this is only episode 3.
Oh yeah, it's definitely really done a lot better. I remember I was thinking to myself like before we started, like let's aim for 500 in the first month or something. But like, this is I guess it's been 2 weeks now, from as of recording, for the viewers, episodes that have been out. And like just over 400. I think probably episode 2 will end up getting 1,000 views. I feel like it might take up about the week until this episode comes out, but I think episode 2 will hit 1,000 views as well.
Yeah, I think it's going up faster than episode 1 was, actually. I had a quick look. So I think the momentum is still there. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's cool. I think I'll get back on doing some clips for it, I haven't had too much time the last few days, but I think I posted a clip in it. A clip, I don't know how many views it got now, but last time I checked the clip had about 7k, which is it's good for a new channel.
Oh, wow. Did it? Oh my goodness. Yeah. That's amazing.
I don't know. It might have like 10k now. I don't know.
Excellent
I'm
stuff.
Not sure. Yeah.
But yeah, so thank you everybody for watching. You can check out our channels on our respective links down below. And yeah, we will see you in the next episode of our Podyssey.
And this is a Podyssey I won't soon forget.
Hey! We got it.
All right, see you later, guys.